honoring we give one another that I think is so important. And I hold on to my rather curious upbringing because I feel that I've seen a glimpse of the world that we are trying to build. I am not going to let it go. I am holding on. Some years ago, members from several of our urban churches would meet annually at the mountain in Highlands, North Carolina. We spent a lot of time talking about what becoming diverse might mean for our respective congregations. What we understood was that it would have been a step towards something bigger than merely diversity. We longed to be able to discern, understand, and address systems that continue to keep persons of color and other marginalized persons in lesser positions than those of the dominant culture. We wanted to go way below the surface, and we did. With time, we learned to ask each other tough questions, and I am still asking tough questions. Questions such as, you may want to buckle your seatbelt. Why are our youth made to feel unwelcome at the Unitarian Universalist table? Good question. Why are so few of our Unitarian Universalist ministers of color well placed in their own congregations? Whose voices are recognized and respected at the welcome table? Why are there so few persons of color in professional roles at the UU? In spite of the fact that our current president of the association is Latino, in spite of the fact that our former president is African American, and thinking of how we welcome each other into our communities, I want to ask you to think about this question. Simple question that you will recognize. So how did you find us? Anyone in here ever asked that question? Welcoming folks? So how did you find us? I want you to think about that question. What does that question mean? So how did you find us? And I want to invite our microphone professionals to work. Good to have this conversation, hearing many different understandings of how such a question is received. And sometimes it depends on one's mood. I can go visit a congregation and, oh, how did you find this? I say, well, I am us. I am us. Has the conversation stopped? Or has it opened? Thinking about, and we'll speak this afternoon about how we welcome, what hospitality can look like with or without the spoken word. So, for each of you, who guides your feet while you figuratively run the race? Who guides the feet of the congregation, your respective congregation, as your congregation tries so hard to run the race? And who guides the feet of the district on and on and on. Those are questions that I invite you to think about. Think deeply and know that each and every one of you, of us, plays a part in answering those questions. I'm going to give you an example of how my congregation answered the question. I am a member of the Community Church of New York, and we are a new sanctuary congregation. We're part of that new sanctuary movement, an interfaith movement, dedicated to creating and enacting more humane immigration policies. So we have our new sanctuary family, a Muslim family, Senegalese family from the outskirts of Dakar. Fatoumata Gassama is the current head of her household. And let me tell you a little bit about Fatoumata and her family. Prior to 2007, Fatoumata was quietly living with her spouse and children in New York City, in the Bronx. The couple had not been granted political asylum when they arrived here from Senegal in 1994. But they stayed in the United States and made a life without legal status. I could never call them illegal people, but they were without legal status. They had six children born in the United States. Each of the children doing well in school. Their father worked a variety of jobs, paying the rent and paying their taxes. Unfortunately, all of that changed abruptly in 2007 when Fatoumata's spouse was removed from their home by the Department of Homeland Security. He was deported back to Senegal. Without his income, Fatoumata and her children were evicted from their home. They live in a public shelter in a heatless environment in the middle of winter. No one is allowed to bring in a heater. The winters are cold in New York City. No one is allowed to visit the family in the shelter. And in spite of those realities, the family is doing well. The eldest child, Bintu, is one of the top students in this country. So much so that based on merit alone, she received a letter of congratulations from President Obama, who had no idea of how far she travels daily. From home to school, to pick up one of the younger ones way across town or in another borough. Because no one has thought about how a family survives. Here's the thing. As sad as this story is, Fatoumata and her family, her 6 children, are activists for social justice. They show up for justice of all forms, not merely immigration issues. They have shown up to every single Standing on the Side of Love event that has taken place in New York City. How many of you are familiar with standing on the side of love? We see the hands. And I'm really proud to note that it is one of the stellar programs administered by the Office of Multicultural Growth and Witness. Standing on the side of love, what that means for us in the case of Matumata was the ability for members of my congregations to get real about welcome. Get real about more than talk about anti-racism, anti-oppression, multiculturalism. Here it is. Bintu has a birthday. Her mother can't afford to get her anything for her birthday. The church community can. You take a course, you think, oh my gosh, I don't know about this anti-oppression business. You have a warm, loving family, you know about it. So I want us to end this session with you thinking about what it looks like to make bridges, make connections in your respective works. Don't take anything for granted. Someone could have said, oh yeah, we're doing New Sanctuary, and not make the connection that allows each of us to live our faith. Let's stop here and move into our next session.